What's going on, everybody? It's Childish. We're back at it again with that Theorycraft Thursday video for you all today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the channel. My name is Childish, and I'm the founder of the Epicfail community. We are a 4-guild community comprised of over 100 members, and within that group, we have ourselves the channel called Epicfail Evolution. This is our theory crafting chat where we talk about a variety of things PvE and PvP related. And as of 2 months ago, I wanted to go ahead and take that channel and basically bring you a weekly video talking about some of the things that we discuss so that we can in effort improve not only your progression but your guild's progression. So today we are going to be focusing on 7 reasons why we fail at Guild Wars. And when I say we, I say people in general, not me or not you, but just people in general, okay? So the number one reason why we fail at Guild Wars has to go down to communication. Communication is literally the number one thing to improve the success rate of your guild. And this is just not important with regards to in-game, but outside the game. Utilizing some kind of a chat application to communicate your theories and thoughts within your community, talk strategy, tactics, anything and everything to help your guild, that is extremely important. Within the game, being able to communicate not just in guild chat, but during the fight so that you can make sure that no one's stacking up on a particular team. You guys are macromanaging your green bars, making sure you're not attacking anybody that's already been attacked is extremely important. And of course, that's just what you can control. The communication can go outside that spectrum. Think about all the fights that you've ever fought where you've gotten down to 1 or 2%, and then you looked at your member roster, and out of all the swords you have remaining, you had 12 swords or whatever sitting there. And that's literally could have been, that literally could have made the difference between winning or losing. But because you didn't have a way of communicating with your members that they either could not make a sword or whatever, that can fall back and hurt your guild as a whole negatively. Because regardless of who you guys decide to attack, whether it's a +3, +2, trying to get more points or whatnot, if you can't win the match, you are not going to get the points. So making sure that you can communicate not just in game but outside the game is extremely important. And I encourage any of you guys that are not using some kind of a communication app outside the game, definitely do so. So the next one, second reason why we are constantly failing with regards to Guild Wars has to come down to the runes, in my humble opinion. Now, for those that are new to the game, we've understand, checking out a lot of videos out there. The focus on progression starts in that PvE aspect. You clear your scenarios, you get into Kairos, you work on that Giant Speed 10 dungeon, right? You get that GB10 team. Then you start working your way into, TOA and inevitably Dragon's B10. And somewhere in between there, as you're collecting those runes, you're starting to incorporate a little bit of that PvP and starting to rune some monsters in an effort to get some of that PvP clearing done so that you guys can, get some of those nice items in the glory shop that you have seen time and time and again. Some of these items are extremely important in order to improve not just, your end game PvP, but PvE, but PvE as well, getting these permanent stats to help all of your monsters, regardless of what situation it is. So yes, PvP is pretty darn important, but keeping in mind the fact that when you're doing that, when you kind of break away in that trend of trying to cover all various things, you're spreading out the runes quite a bit. And as we got to go ahead and quote, episode number 7, Barian of our Educate Nominate guest, the reason why people like him were way more successful than others is because he consolidated his best runes on his best units. And for those that have been following my channel for quite some time, that is one of the number one things that have been said and passed on from time to time. As you guys hear, there's tons of information that gets advised to you. Stuff gets outdated, but comments like that have never changed. That is still holds true to this day. So depending on where you're at with regards to your guild, have the understanding that, when it comes to those farming guilds and from farming to kind of casual competitive, there's got to be a broad perspective when it comes to performance and rune management. If your focus is truly on PvP, then you'll definitely need to make some adjustments on your team so that you can improve your comps. But overall, if you are working on that PvE progression, keep in mind that we cannot your teams have to be set when it comes to PvE so that you can get the runes to excel in PvP, right? So that is probably going to be the biggest theme on that. In addition to that, for some of the mid to late game players, the quality of the runes Definitely vary when it comes to Arena and Guild Wars. As you guys know, Arena was the initial type of PvP in this game, and then Guild Wars came out about a year and a half ago. Of course, now we got people that enjoy both Arena and Guild Wars, and because of that, they are separating some of those units and their runes for those units in two different spectrums. And if you are in that middle-ish, C3, Fighter 3, C3 kind of Guardian 1 range, and you're looking to improve your success rate, your performance, then there has to be some kind of priority when it comes to Guild War, units for your Guild War versus units for Arena. While Arena is going to get you some of the points that you need for the Glory Shop, if your ultimate goal is to be a solid contributor when it comes to the Guild, definitely need to put in the work when it comes to the rune builds on those units that you're using specifically for Guild Wars, okay? And so the third reason why we fail when it comes to Guild Wars is not using our swords when we don't think we can beat a defense. So of course this is going to relate again to some of the beginner players. How many times have we seen a composition in here and we are just like, oh my God, we're not going to be able to get it done. But, people don't realize that a draw, it's not a win, right? But a draw does contribute to the damage as well. So even if you don't have the perfect team, maybe you got into a fight and you lost a couple of key units, don't be afraid to bring, one of your tanky kind of stallish teams and just see if you can survive. At the end of the day, a draw is not what we want, but a draw will help your guild get closer to that success rate of clearing it out. So that's something to keep in mind, especially when we are, coming up into the game with regards to PvP. And again, we only have like maybe two strong teams, and it only takes one defense that may throw us off to cripple one of the teams, and we have to start using secondary units that we weren't planning on. If you have to get to that point, play the safe game, go with that support-based team so that at the very least you can try to eke out a draw and go ahead and contribute to the overall percentage to clear that guild. So the fourth reason why we fail at Guild Wars has to be the misinterpretation of the guild defense position, right? So when you guys look at this setup here, a lot of people are not, too familiar with how this all works. Basically, you got your defense that the opposing team sets up, and where they place on the map is dependent upon where they finish on the arena rank at the end of the previous week. So obviously, if you finish high in the end of the week when it comes to arena, you're going to be up top here in this rank number 1. If you finish really, really low with respect to the members of your guild, you're going to be on the far right. So naturally, when we're coming up, we happen to think that the people on the far right are going to be the easiest people, when in all reality, there's a ton of people out there that don't even do arena, but they are extremely good when it comes to Guild Wars, on not just the offensive side, but the defensive side. And the defense is what we're talking about. So don't underestimate the position when it comes to Guild War defense, because it definitely can catch you off guard. And if you're not too familiar when it comes to checking the defenses out, you can always click the opponent and check their defense log to see, how their defense is doing. Are they getting a lot of fails? Are they getting a lot of draws? Not, to check it out and see, what's kind of going on, because that plays an extremely important role in should you or should you not, get at this particular defense if you're not too sure about your team. So yeah. So the fifth reason why we fail at Guild Wars quite a bit is the misinterpretation of the Guild War defenses. So this time around, what I'm going to use to talk about the next few topics is a couple of pictures here that Ryan from the Epicfail Delta Guild has provided for us, just to kind of illustrate exactly what I'm talking about here. So this first concept is the misunderstanding of how units are built. When we look at Veramos, Vertihil, and Bella, generally speaking, we understand that Veramos and Bella are extremely support-based monsters, but Vertihil is one of those units that can be built in a squishy type of fashion or in a tanky type of fashion. It just depends on the knowledge that the opponent has and how they choose to build it. But because of the fact this composition has so much turn advantage from Vertihil, Bella's heal, and then of course the turn denial from the stuns that Veramos brings, we got to look at the big picture and realize that Vertihil may not be the best choice to go for. If we assume that Vertihil is a squishy unit and we choose to go for him, it may catch us off guard, and in addition to that, they may try to generate additional turns by providing revenge that's on Vertihil to catch us off guard, interrupt our team, and get the opportunity to cut in and take out a unit, right away. So the sixth reason why we fail at Guild Wars is the underanalyzing of what is the true threat. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this example here when it comes to Galleon, Bernard, and Theo. This is a vanilla example, but when I bring this type of setup, I'm talking about Galleon, Bernard, Theo. I'm talking about Galleon, Bernard, Zyros, Galleon, Orion, X, Galleon, Bernard, X. It really doesn't matter, okay? When we look at this particular team, the unit that would be essentially sitting in the middle in this particular defense is the one that we consider the biggest threat. And when we look at the support that it's bringing to it, Galleon with the attack buff, the speed lead, the defense break, and then Bernard with the swift buff and the advantage, turn advantage with the tailwind, this is all set up around Theo so that Theo can go ham, right? But what we don't understand is that we still have to be wary of not just the DPSer, but the supports and how they choose to build them in an effort to support this particular unit. The opponent understands that this is not something that's going to outlast the first turn. If you, the person going after it, can outlast in the first, second turn, it's over. But if they have a way of potentially catching you off guard, then what they choose to do sometimes is build their other support-based units in a relatively DPS fashion. What we can't underestimate is the value of the damage that the two units can bring, or just support units that can bring in general, right? Galleon is definitely underestimated when it comes to the damage multipliers on his first and second skill, and the fact that he is a self buffer when it comes to attack bar defense break. We got to be very, very cautious of that. Now, keep in mind, Bernard, we generally think of Bernard as a support-based monster, but his first skill, the damage is actually based on speed. So couple that speed with an attack buff and a defense break, you would be surprised to see what those Bernards can do when they crit on a defense broken unit. So be very cautious of that. While Theo may be the main threat, we cannot underestimate the value of the DPS that not only Galleon, but Bernard can bring to the mix. And the seventh reason why we fail at Guild Wars is the underestimation of our opponent. Not just the compositions that they're bringing, but honestly, the knowledge that they're bringing. When we're looking at particular compositions climbing up in the ranks, the level of difficulty, as you guys know, increases. But what you don't realize is when we get into that competitive aspect, Guardian 1 and Guardian 2 and Guardian 2 and Guardian 3, the level of difficulty exponentially increases because of how the guild works together in an effort to catch the people off guard. We got people within the guild strategizing others' defenses and working with them to set up the best, the highest quality setups and whatnot. So, for example, we'll go ahead and throw some examples here. For the first example, I'll use this defense on the right here. So we got Rakan, Ritesh, and Juno. They're bringing AoE defense break, they're bringing buff removal, and they're bringing a unit that can essentially snipe an opponent depending on how it's built. So as a player, you should understand that the opponent understands that he is not bringing any kind of attack bar manipulation, so he is allowing you to get the first turn. Because the fact that he's doing that, we need to, of course, not underestimate that he is not going to be utilizing will. 99% of the defenses that are running in the top ranks are going to be using a combination of will or nemesis with regards to those support units. And so in a setup like this, it's very likely that they have a perfectly synced Juno to retest to Recon with triple will on every single unit. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about bringing some risky compositions that heavily rely on applying some kind of a defense break or harmful effect, from the get-go. And then like another example, even though I don't have a picture to showcase it right now, is that standard Theo, Huadam, Chasoon kind of setup. And that's just an example of essentially a team that would more than likely be chosen by me, the opponent attacking them, utilizing like a Copper, for example, right? Copper, the Randy Copper, the Imseti Copper, combo is probably one of the most common Guild War offenses out there. They understand that, right? So when building these particular units, we intentionally set up our Hordams or our Trasoons to have an absurd amount of HP. Now, when it comes to Hordams, in a Theo Hordam Trasoon combination, that is, one of those that is going to, Hordam is going to be the first one they're going to go for. So some people And nowadays, with regards to the meta, some people are even straying away from despair type runes in an effort to get some even more HP from the either the random broken sets or like an energy set or something of the sort. Double energy or triple energy is not uncommon when it comes to Adams. When they understand that when people attack them, they're going to be bringing, 99% of the time, they're going to be bringing copper type setups there. So, underestimating your opponent is probably one of the biggest things, biggest mistakes that I see a lot of people make. So definitely, again, just take a quick second to think about the composition, what you're going at, so that you can make the best choice before you get into it. Because at that particular level, Guardian 1, Guardian 2, and Guardian 2 and Guardian 3, every sword counts. The eighth and final reason why we fail in Guild Wars is definitely a hard one to swallow. And at the end of the day, it's not about what you want to hear, but sometimes what you need to hear. And this one is basically coming down to having individuals in your guild that are not meeting the guild standards in terms of rune quality and progression, right? Now, we understand that Summoners War is a social game and we generally want to play with our friends. However, not everybody's at the same level. And that is, okay to an extent. Once you get into that mindset of being, that competitive nature, you're going to have a pretty wide gap when it comes to performance. And, truthfully, it's not fair for certain players to be held back by other individuals who are overly casual and do not pull their own weight in order to make the sacrifices needed to stay competitive. So, when I bring this information out to you, I don't want to, and maybe you're in the situation, within your guild, I don't want you to think the guild is a bust, and I don't want you to, be quick to jump guilds and forget about what you have accomplished with regards to your guild or your community. What this gives you an opportunity to do is look at your guild, how many players you have, try to analyze and see, what is everybody looking to do? And does people want to be competitive? Do people not want to be competitive? And if you get that option to break away, do that in such that you split up your guild into you got a competitive community as well as a non-competitive community. Now, I bring this last point out to you today because I want to use us as an example. When the Epicfail community got started, we were a group of 20 to 22 individuals that just had fun and we enjoyed it. But we realized that we had some players that, were truly looking forward to that competitive aspect and seeing how good we can do. We essentially broke away into two guilds. We formed the Epicfail Beta and then Epicfail Alpha. The Beta was our farming casual guild, and then we had the Alpha guild, which was going to be our competitive guild. Alpha was originally a 10-person guild, and then we eventually made it the 20 to 25-person guild as Compto has changed the rules or whatnot, and even more so in that once we got to both guilds so big to the point where we were looking to expand even more, we had a few players that were looking to get out of the farming guild, but not want to be too heavy competitive. So we made Omega, and then Omega started to go on. And Omega was our third guild. The blend of both worlds between our Alpha and Beta guilds. And as we continue to grow once again, we realized that out of everybody in Omega, we had some people that wanted to replicate what we did in Alpha with regards to competitive, and we had some players within Omega that wanted to, kind of stay and kind of do their own thing, right? So again, we broke away and made that fourth guild, Delta. So now we have two G3 guilds, another G1, G2 casual competitive guild, and then we have our farming guild, Beta, finished off the ranks. So again, guys, I know this is a lot to swallow, but sometimes being able to make that executive decision in order to split not only allows you to your members to stay happy and do what they want to do, but allows you to expand your community. When you get to split, you get a breakaway, and now you have more room to grow when it comes to building your community up. So that is pretty much it, guys, when it comes to these 8 reasons why we fail when it comes to Guild Wars. Again, hopefully you can utilize my experience, with regards to my guild and our community as an example in an effort to improve your progression. I want to thank once again everybody in the Epicfail community that came together to provide all the topics that we have provided in this video for you guys today. If you did like this video, go ahead and smash that like button. If you haven't already, please follow me on Facebook and Twitter so I can give you guys some more sneak peeks on what's going down for the rest of the week, okay? That is it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's your boy Childish from ChildishPlays checking out. Take care, and we will see you next time, guys. We're out.